Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like school taught you everything except how to actually make money? It did for me. I followed the rules, went to college, picked a respectable major, and yet one single book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, taught me more about money, wealth, and mindset than 4 years of university ever did. In today's video, I'll share the full summary, break down all the key lessons, tell you how they changed me, and why they might change you too. The core idea of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is told through the lens of two father figures in Robert Kiyosaki's life. One was his real father, a highly educated man, PhD, full-time job at a university, brilliant in academics. The other wasn't his biological dad, but the father of his best friend. This man had only completed 8th grade, yet he became one of the wealthiest individuals in Hawaii. Both dads worked hard and earned money, but the difference in their financial outcomes was dramatic. By the end of their lives, the real dad, poor dad, left behind unpaid debts and liabilities. The second dad, rich dad, left his children tens of millions of dollars and thriving assets. So what made the difference? Mindset, financial education, knowing how money works. And that's what Kiyosaki sets out to teach us in this book. Here's something painful but true. Our school system doesn't teach financial literacy. It teaches us how to earn a paycheck, how to obey rules, how to build a career. But it doesn't teach how to create wealth, how money actually works, how freedom is built. And because of this, most parents pass down only what they know. So if your parents aren't part of the top 1%, if they didn't build wealth themselves, they probably taught you, unintentionally, how to stay broke. Not because they don't love you, but because they themselves were never taught better. I'm speaking from personal experience. I didn't come from a wealthy family. Nobody around me was part of the 1%. In fact, they kept steering me toward the safe path. They told me, go to college, get a degree, find a respectable job, be grateful for your paycheck. Even when I started my own business, they'd ask things like, wouldn't it be better if you got a normal job? So eventually, I gave in. I applied to law school, enrolled in a faculty I didn't care about for a future I didn't want, just to follow what they thought was smart, and then everything changed.
I came across Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it blew my mind. That one book gave structure to everything I felt but couldn't explain. It made me realize I wasn't crazy for wanting more, for thinking that a job and a paycheck weren't enough. It taught me more, in one book, than 4 years of university ever did. That was the push I needed. Before my second year of university, I started building my first business, and my life hasn't been the same since.
Here's one of the biggest eye-openers from the book. It's not high salaries that solve your money problems. It's knowing how to use money correctly. Most people work harder to earn more, but the moment their income goes up, so do their expenses. They get a raise, they buy a bigger car, promotion, new phone, new lifestyle. You're not solving your financial problems. You're just stretching them. That's when I truly understood. Wealth doesn't start when you earn more. It starts when you think differently. Most people work for money. They trade time for a paycheck, over and over and over. But at some point, you need to flip the script. You need to make money work for you. How? By owning assets that earn money whether you work or not. Kiyosaki teaches this in the simplest way possible, through two life-changing concepts. Assets equals things that put money in your pocket. Liabilities equals things that take money out. Forget the accounting jargon. Here's the basic idea. If something earns you money, it's an asset. If it costs you money, it's a liability. Let's take a car, for example. If you own a car and it costs you gas, repairs, insurance, guess what? It's a liability. But if you rent it out, like on Turo or Uber, and it brings in monthly income, now it becomes an asset. Same object, different function, different financial impact. Other examples of assets: rental property, stocks, dividends, your own business, online products, anything that generates income. Liabilities: designer clothes, expensive cars, new gadgets, massive houses, credit card debt.
So why do the rich keep getting richer? Because instead of spending their income on status symbols, they buy more assets, which generate more income, which they use to buy even more assets. Meanwhile, the poor or middle class often do the opposite: earn, spend, upgrade lifestyle, repeat. And so their financial situation barely changes, or even worsens over time.
Over the last 17 years, I've launched dozens of business projects. Some were profitable, others were a disaster. But even when I lost money, I gained something powerful: experience. And that experience became the key to my future success. The next time I invested, I was smarter, more cautious, more strategic. If you lose money on an iPhone, you lose it forever. If you lose it on a business, you gain wisdom that compounds. When you buy things on credit, you don't just lose money, you also lose freedom. People may look rich, driving flashy cars, holding the latest phone, but in reality, their pockets are empty and their stress levels are high. Purchasing to impress others means digging your own financial grave. Let's say your income is $1,000 a month. You spend $500 on essentials, rent, food, basics. You're left with $500. You could spend it on nice clothes, a new phone, fast food, or invest $300 to $350 into an income-producing asset and spend the rest on the things you enjoy. It's not about deprivation, it's about allocation. This mindset works whether you make $1,000 a month or $10,000. Track your income, track your expenses, build assets, get control. Here's what changed my life forever. People with a poor mindset work for money their entire lives. People with a wealth mindset use their money to buy freedom. They build assets. They learn from failure. They delay gratification, not because they're cheap, but because they're playing a longer game. The great escape from paycheck to paycheck living begins the moment you make this mental shift. If this video brought you any value, give it a like so more people can find it too. Leave a comment below. What's the first asset you're going to invest in? And don't forget to subscribe for more life-changing book summaries and financial wisdom that schools never taught us. This is Self-Rise, and remember, you don't need to be born rich. You just need the right money mindset. Thanks for watching.